okay, looking at GameStop, it's looking pretty good overall. I'm going to go over it in terms of what indications are shown to that it will continue the run up, what levels it needs to pass in terms of resistance levels to continue the massive run up. So where it might be capped, as you've seen here before, is where it gets knocked down and all that stuff. And then also I'm going to cover the bottom support levels in case it goes lower. What levels can we rely on as support? I'm going to cover the short positions as well. Close at $248.36 as of June 4th, 2021. Quick disclaimer before I continue. I'm not a financial advisor, not a professional. Everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It's not advice. So please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, in terms of the overall setup, had an amazing upward trend support line. Like in the past I've shown, bounced off, came down, bounced off, went up to the upside, bounced off. Thought it was going to hold. Unfortunately, did not hold, but it formed another upward trend support line. So that's what I wanted to show. In terms of upward trend support, as long as it bounces off it, we're good. Multiple touch points. A couple false breakouts, not a big deal though, but still pretty good overall. And you could just see there was another false breakout here, so it wasn't just here. And that way, that's the reason why I didn't hold before. Downward trend resistance line right here, it broke through it. So when it went up to it in January 2021 to the upside, got knocked down. And here in March 2021 got knocked down, and then in May 2021 it got knocked down as well. So it broke through it. That was, to me, explaining the run up overall. Obviously increased volume, obviously increased support, short squeeze and all that stuff, but usually it's a good indication that there's going to be a run up happening. Now, in the meantime, right now, basically heading down a little bit, actually probably pretty much a good amount, a little bit for the most part. Downward trend resistance line right here so essentially, if it goes down, I'm going to cover the upward trend resistance levels because I think that's the most important. But I'm going to cover the support levels first, then the upward trend, then the short position. So in terms of the downward, like going down, you're basically looking at support around the $230 price point for the most part, which coincides with the horizontal support right here. So you can see horizontally, if you went across here, you can see 2 touch points right here, and then almost a third touch point right here, but it's a false breakout. So if you were, just to visually show, if you were to come down, expecting to bounce up and then break through the downward trend resistance line that you see with multiple touch points right here and break through and then continue on the upside. Now, could it be a massive run up? Hopefully it is. It's not a guarantee it would be a massive run up. I'm not anticipating it to be a massive run up, but I'm anticipating it would be a continuous growth to the upside. That's what I'm anticipating. Because the stock is still extremely shorted, which I probably will cover right now actually, might as well. So it's GameStop right here. In terms of May 14th, 2021, I know this is outdated, but according to like news channels and all stuff, it looks like shorts are not giving up still whatsoever. So it's going to be around the ballpark of 29.34% shorted. This is as of May 14th, 2021. This is floated shares. In terms of outstanding, it's around 16.92 as of May 14th, but I'm more concerned about floated shares because outstanding shares includes restricted shares. So there's that. Now, as long as it's above 20%, it's considered extremely shorted. So right now it's above 20%. If shorts haven't given up, I still believe it's still above 20%, and it has been increasing for the past, I believe, last 3 updates. It was at 26% before, then it was 28%, and now we're at 29%. So it has not been decreasing, and if it has been decreasing, still above 20% according to news channels. Now that's pretty awesome. So that means short squeeze is still within reach. At least they have been decreasing over time though. So the stock has been shorted over 100% in the past. They have been covering, but if it's as long shorted more than 20%, there's still more of a short squeeze left within the stock overall, in my opinion, by the way. But so if it does go lower than 230, because because it's above 1 moving average, it could bounce off support off it. So it would create a false breakout though, but at least there would be hope to go to the upside. Now there could be some complications because if it happens dramatically, it would be within this downward trend resistance line. That's the only issue. But if it does, you could rely on support around roughly about the $220 price point, give or take plus or minus a couple dollars. Now, the thing is though, in terms of indication, so before I cover the upside now, because I'm going to cover the upside right after this, in terms of indication, and actually one more thing too, I know I jumped all over the place. If you wanted a worst case scenario to enter, in case if I don't update a video, around the $130 price point is a really good entry level, because if you look horizontally right here, it bounced down right here on it, and then roughly around here on it. So it's pretty good indication. And around here, when it dropped from the all-time high in January, it came down to a $130 price point. it bounced back up to the $380 price point, give or take. So $130 is pretty good support overall, in case if I don't update a video within that time quick enough. Now, in terms of the movement, which I was going to cover, and then I'm going to cover the upward trend support or resistance, is if you look at the 1 month chart that we're looking at right now, just to make sure, the MAC line right here is in the negative still. It doesn't look like it's curving up to the upside, so it leads me more to believe that it will go to $230 probably. Hopefully not, but it might. This indicates the movement if it's bearish or bullish. So right now it is bearish because it's in the negative. Once it crosses over to positive, it'll be bullish and it'll be optimistic, but that's not the case right now. That was in the 1 month movement. If you look at the 3 month movement, same indication, no slowdown at the moment, so it leads me to believe it's going to go a little bit lower still before we reverse to the upside. And then if you look at the 1 year chart movement, it's in the positive right now, but it's curving down to the downside. Again, another indication. Now, the 5 year chart, this is where it's optimistic. It curved up to the positive, it's bullish, and it's as of recent. So arguably it could be because it was the massive run up we had just recently, but it's still because the problem is, or not the problem, the good thing is though, is when it's moving recently in terms of 5 year chart, these take a while to move. Like the 1 month chart and 3 month chart are relatively quick to move to positive and negative in terms of bearish and bullish. But in terms of the 5 year chart, the movement is relatively slow because it's moving in a 5 year pattern. So given that, in my opinion, this is indicating that the run up has room to grow and it's still in good shape, relatively speaking. And in terms of the short term, the movements up, like down, as long as they're not prolonged, are fine. So that's basically what it's indicating. Now, if we go back to the 1 month chart, the levels that need to be passed in terms of continuing the upside overall is, first of all, you need to pass around the $290 price point. Breaking $300 would solidify that overall. And that, if it breaks $300 quickly, I think it would be fine, because then it would indicate that it basically at least broke it, made it weaker overall, and then it could continue to the upside in the short term. And the next level, because the $300 price point is important, because essentially $290. Essentially it's the $290 range, but passing $300 would crush it in my opinion. And that is promising, that's good. But what I'm looking for, and then just to indicate, by the way, just to show you, it's horizontal support resistance level. So you can see horizontally got knocked down here, here, and here as well, around the 290 price point. The thing is though, you want it's a first step overall. What you want to really pass is these next two levels, especially the last level I'm going to mention. So this level right here around the 300 and showing 335, but when I zoomed in all stuff, it's around the 340 range. Unfortunately, you'll get crushed around the 350 range as well. So anywhere between 330 to 350, that's the level you want to pass. The problem is around the 350 could get crushed, specifically around the 344, I believe. So $344 overall. Now the next level, this is the most important to me, that I think once passed, back to normal in terms of going parabolic and everything. So the level is around the $380 price point. I would say passing hitting 390 would be good. Obviously the problem is 400 is going to cause an issue, but you know you're in good shape if you're in the $380 price point level. So like probably 384, 388. And that coincides with this right here. So back in January 2021, you can see horizontally right here twice. It went up to it, got knocked down, and went up to it, got knocked down. Now, the first time was an issue, but then once it passed, it went up crazy. And then when it went down to 135, like I mentioned, or 131 right here, back in January, it spiked up back up to the $380 price point, but yet got knocked down again. So that's why it's important to me in terms of $380 price point. Hopefully it passes, hopefully it does well. And yeah, but in the meantime, it looks like temporarily it might be going down. Pre-market's doing pretty good though, but and right now in terms of the 1 month movement and the 3 month movement, it's not doing so well. But in terms of the 1 day, so these moved relatively quickly. Right now, it doesn't matter because they move so quickly. It showed negative for the 1 day, so even though pre-market's up, so it's kind of strange because they moved relatively quickly. That's the problem. But for the 5 day, it's bullish, it's optimistic. But again, like I said, it moves pretty quickly. Hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And if you like videos like this or other financial videos or other stock videos that I'll be posting, consider subscribing to be notified when I do upload those videos. Thanks again. Appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.